Um, it just scares me because I just feel like I could put like my family and I obviously I have a really good strong support system. And with me overdosing and with my addiction, I feel like I could put a lot of affect a lot of people by my use. And so yeah.
Okay. And
We are about to watch the parole hearing out of Utah for what is really a serial offender. Now, her full term date is 2028, so 4 years is riding on this parole hearing. I'll let you know the results at the end.
all right, we are on the record. Today's the time and place set for an original hearing for Miss Christa. Can you say your last name so I don't say it incorrectly, ma'am?
Automio?
Armiel? Okay. Offender number 243976. Is that you, ma'am?
Yes.
My name is Kelly Perry. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting your hearing today. Just so you know, the way our camera is my face, you'll probably see the side of my face the whole time. I am looking at you. It's just how the camera is positioned. I will also be making notes the whole time. I'm just making notes of everything we're talking about. I don't want you to think I'm not listening, okay?
Okay.
All right. As it's an official proceeding, I do need to swear you in, so if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give, it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Did you receive 7 days written notice of today's hearing, ma'am?
Yes.
Did you receive your blue disclosure packet?
Yes.
And you don't have to have your hand up anymore, just so you know.
Okay.
Did you have a chance to review that blue disclosure packet?
Yes.
Are there any errors or corrections I should know about in that blue disclosure packet before we begin today?
No.
So just to kind of tell you how today's going to go, ma'am, I'm going to go over procedurally how we got to this hearing. I will go over your offenses. I'm going to give brief descriptions. Obviously, the longer versions was part of that blue disclosure packet. But I'm just going to go over a brief description of each one of them. I'll go over institutional behavior and programming if you were released, what that would look like. And then at the end of the hearing, if you have further questions or comments, let me know, okay?
Okay.
So it looks like a special attention happened in September of last year. The board continued the hearing till now. They noted that they expected you to complete all available and recommended residential substance use treatment and to remain case action plan compliant. In an earned time credit decision in September of last year, it was noted that you completed the Tooele County Substance Use Treatment Program. Does that all sound procedurally correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. In regards to your first case, I show 2119-02148. I show on August 24th, 2021. Christa was seen by witness with a co-defendant. Is it Miss Duran? I apologize, or Mr. Duran?
Yes.
Okay. Placing items into a stroller at a store. She stated she had stolen a backpack from Ross. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about the offense?
No.
Okay. How do you still have contact with your co-defendant?
No.
All right. Next case, 2219-00594. I show on February 15, 2022. Agents with the Weber Morgan strike force attempted a traffic stop. Driver failed to stop. A pursuit ensued. After entering I-15 at a high rate of speed, the driver lost control, hit an inside barrier, disabling the vehicle. Officers took the driver, Christa. As they arrived, officers observed a male, Mr. Duran, exit the car and run along the barrier. The other passenger, Ms. Duran, was also handcuffed. A search of the vehicle revealed confirmed meth, scales, paraphernalia, and a handgun. Is that correct?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about that offense?
I know I could have seriously hurt somebody. I could have hurt the passengers that was with me, and I could have hurt innocent people that was obviously driving too. So I recognize that that behavior and that offense, I could have really seriously hurt somebody.
Were you using when you were driving?
Yes.
What were you using, ma'am?
Fentanyl.
And you know, and obviously you're addressing some of my concerns, right? When you drive using substances, you put everybody on the road, right, at risk, right? And you're kind of addressing that. So I appreciate that and any insight you have in that regard. Were you using in the prior offense as well?
Yeah. So I started stealing from the stores because I was superly addicted to fentanyl, and so that was how I would support my habit. I would go steal from the stores and stuff like that, and then that's where it led to the high-speed chases because I didn't want to come back to jail, you know, and I was obviously under the influence and still in my addiction. So yeah.
And thank you for your insight. Next case 2219-00599. I show on March 10, 2022, an officer assisted APP on a probationer check of an individual. Christa was located in a room. Approximately 7.2 ounces of meth were observed. A field saliva test showed positive for meth and opioids. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about that offense? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Oh, okay. Next case 2219-01985. I show on February 15, 2023, Christa and Mr. Duran carried several items of clothing and attempted to leave the store. They had clothing thrown at them, thrown at one of the employees and threatened violence. The video surveillance showed Royal ball his hand into a fist and make a flinching motion towards an employee. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about that offense?
I think I just need to be really aware of the people I hang out with and who I surround myself with because, like I said on the other one, we put a lot of people at danger, even the employees and even the customers that could be shopping at the store. So I recognize all that too.
And you don't have any contact with the co-defendant in this one either?
No.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. 2219-03040 on November 3rd, 2022, an officer observed Christa walking on a street. A search of a purse revealed drug paraphernalia and fentanyl. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about that offense?
No.
Okay. Next case 2117-01308. On July 8, 2021, officers were dispatched to a suspicious vehicle. When officers arrived, they observed two occupants in the front seat, slumped over sleeping. One of the individuals said they had been using heroin and Christa was with them. In the front passenger seat where she was sitting, a purse containing pipes and other drug paraphernalia was located. Also, 9mm bullets were located in the vehicle. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about the offense? Did you have a firearm on you, or were the bullets yours? You said no.
No.
And then last case 2317-00084. I show on August 31st, 2022. An individual reported her friend Christa was overdosing on fentanyl. Officers did administer Narcan, I should say. She responded briefly. Officers observed blue circular pills. The pills were believed to be oxycodone laced with fentanyl. They also observed more pills. And they found a brass .45 caliber round that was a cause of a damage to a bathroom doorway. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Anything you want to say about the offense?
It just scares me because I just feel like I could put like my family and I obviously I have a really good strong support system. And with me overdosing and with my addiction, I feel like I could put a lot of affect a lot of people by my use. And so yeah.
Okay. And I, like I said, appreciate your insight. So it sounds like things maybe have changed since this time. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So what's changed?
A lot's changed. I think I realized that like my support system and who's there for me. And so since I've been in Tooele County, I started the program in like January of 2023.
The substance use program?
Yes, and I finished the program and now I'm the section lead coordinator where I teach like life skill classes and I help run the program here in Tooele County. And
That's very good.
I've been working here for it's been like almost 14 months, I would say. I've been a janitor here working, and I feel like I've gained some really good skills and some coping skills. So if I am granted parole, I could use those when I get out to be better and do better.
So you said you learned some skills. Tell me about what skills did you learn?
So I've learned some like it's okay to ask for help when I'm not okay. For sure, like be aware of my surroundings and who I surround myself with. I'm gonna think of like the consequences before I act, for sure. And if I'm in a bad scene, I'm gonna make sure I get myself out of it. And for sure, like I'm just gonna stay connected with my family that's been there here the most through everything.
So for clarification, was your family not involved previously, and that's one of the changes that you have is now they're involved?
Well, so my grandma's raised me since I was 6 months old, and she's always been like a part of my life, you know. But I kind of pushed her away with my drug use, and I've kind of like distanced myself and didn't talk to them, you know. But now I've kind of built like a relationship with them where I feel like I'm comfortable going to them and they know like everything I've been through, where before I wouldn't have told them like I OD'd. I went on a high speed chase, like I kept all that from them, but I feel like now I'm really open with them about everything and letting them know my fears and what I'm worried about and like what I need help with. And I think it's super important that I stay in aftercare when I get out. So I got like an IOP set up. It's called Waiver Recovery. And I'm gonna stay connected with like my sober community and my positive influences. And then I have therapy set up once a week with Weaver Human Services. So I think it's super important that I stay in therapy because I do therapy once a week here still. And then I for sure want to get on the Vivid Trail shop.
Okay. And it's, ma'am, I appreciate what you're telling me. It sounds like you've really thought a lot about it, right? You've thought about what kind of treatment you want in the community. You've thought about exactly, you mentioned the Vivitrol shot. That's something you want to pursue. You've taken classes, substance use treatment. I would note your completions. You've completed MRT, moral recognition therapy. So it sounds like you've thought about what you want to do moving forward, which is good. I would also note you have no disciplinary violations, ma'am, which is really good. Regarding your release plans, I show that you would like to live with your aunt or grandmother in Ogden and work in customer service. Is that still the plan, ma'am?
Yes.
I would also note the board received a letter of support. I reviewed that letter and it is part of the file, okay?
Okay.
Ma'am, those are all of my questions. From here, I'm a hearing officer. I make recommendations. The board ultimately decides. They're made up of 5 members. 3 of them have to come to one decision. That's the decision of the board. You should get that in writing within 2 to 4 weeks. I make note of your guideline, ma'am, which is 27 months or December 10th, 2024. The best way to think of that's a suggestion. The CCJJ, Commission on Criminal Justice and Juveniles, issued them. They're based on a number of factors, obviously one of them being your offenses. The board can go below that date, above that date, the same date they ultimately decide, just so you know, okay? And I showed the expiration of your sentence, meaning the longest time the board could have jurisdiction over you, assuming no other offenses, is March 22nd, 2028. Do you have any closing comments or questions for myself or for the board, ma'am?
No.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you attending this hearing and all of your comments. I made notes of all of them. We'll go ahead and conclude. Thank you.
Thank you.
So they granted parole, and she'll be paroled September 10th, 2024, which was 2 months from the date of that hearing. And good on her. It was a month before the recommended date and 4 years before her full term date. Now, I think personally, prison was probably the best thing for her. Probably saved her life. You saw what was happening. I mean, I can just picture it. If you're a true crime person, you probably saw the judge that just said, you know what? Enough is enough. Like I can picture it now, the judge saying, no, there's no more probation for you. There's no more jail for you. It's prison for you. And she seems to have done great. No mention of write-up. She's taking the programs. She's teaching the programs. She wants to take the Vivitrol shot, which is, in my opinion, like I've covered over 3,000 parole hearings. I got a second channel out of Louisiana. I think we've seen 3 or 4 people come up and say, that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do when I get out. Now, these parole hearings are a little different than what I'm used to covering. Oftentimes we'll see someone say, well, this is what I'm going to do when I get out. I'm going to go to 30-30. These are who my sponsors are going to be. This is my plan. And I didn't really see that there. And I'm really hoping that she can keep her head on straight and stay focused, because there's one thing that I've seen from watching all the other, my favorite YouTubers, is the big danger of getting out of prison is that if you do fall back to your habits, if you do make one mistake, it can sometimes be your last, because you lost that tolerance that you had built up. You go and you take the dose that you were accustomed to, and that's it. So there's a big danger to that too. And she has a long record. Sir Richard put it in here, and she went over all of that in the parole hearings. But I mean, I see from her arrest starting at the age of 19, it's June 12, 2019, August 24, 2019, March 8, 2020, August 25th, 2021, December 16, 20. These are all arrests. March 10th, 2022, August 13th, 2022, November 3rd, 2022. And finally, they said, enough is enough. She's not even 24 years old yet. and her first arrest starts at 19 that we know of, and at least that's her first, documented arrest. So it's I'll share her first arrest photo with you. It's a pretty good photo. If I were to get arrested, I would sign up for a photo where I don't look like, we've seen so many where it's like you're just like zombified. It's like, those classic arrest photos when you're like on bath salts or meth and haven't slept for 18 days. So I'd sign up for this one. But anyways, please help the channel reach 100,000 subscribers. And if she does come back for any reason, which I hope she doesn't, we will cover her parole revocation hearing. We keep track of the inmates that we watch their parole hearings. If they come back, we'll attach the revocation hearings. I hope we don't. Hope she does great. And with that, I'll let you go. Allow me to break down what we are about to watch. So this parolee, well, in 2022, she was apprehended on a felony warrant. Now, when she was busted, she was caught with narcotics. She was charged with possession with intent to distribute. She was caught with other people's credit cards, and they eventually linked 8 vehicle burglaries to her. Now, she was given a 0 to 15-year sentence. She's 2 years into that sentence when they paroled her on condition that she not get another write-up. And she got another write-up. And so she's about to have a hearing about that. I will share the results with you at the end. Now, as you can see, she's picked up some prison ink while serving time. I don't know if that's the best move for rehabilitation, but what do I know?
All right, today's the time and place set for a rescission hearing for Sherry Vigil, offender number 235601. That is you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you receive prior notice of today's hearing? Do you feel ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll be taking testimony from you. Do you swear or affirm the statements you provide will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Joel Robinson. I'm a hearing officer. I work for the board. I'll be conducting your hearing.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You had a rehearing in May. You were granted a November release contingent on no disciplinary violations. And then in October, the board received notice that you had a new disciplinary violation for fighting.
Yes, sir.
That's the whole purpose for today's hearing.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to provide an explanation on that fighting?
Honestly, sir, it was just a misunderstanding and it just escalated and it shouldn't have escalated to that. The person that I did had that altercation with, we are good friends now still. It just got too heated and I do apologize for that.
And are things better now?
Yes, sir. I currently got into school. I'm on low side now. I'm not on high side no more. I actually start school tomorrow. And I'm doing one-on-one counseling, and I'm doing pretty good, actually.
All right, last disciplinary was about a month, November 11th.
Yes, sir.
It's pending.
Yes.
All right. And you're meeting with the mental health professional. Is things going well with that?
Yes, I'm even meeting with my counselor right now, and then my caseworker, he's really good help with me too. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on getting into school and just get everything done. Currently, right now, my focus is my father's currently dying right now. And so I'm going through a lot of struggles with that, but I'm trying to make it and try to do better.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a difficult
Yes, sir.
situation to have to manage, especially being incarcerated.
Yes, sir.
Have your release plans changed at all?
No, sir. It's still the same.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, basically, the board will look at the disciplinary violations and then determine how much additional time
Okay.
is warranted to serve based off of that.
Yes.
And I would imagine they'll put another release date in place.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You get that official board order here in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right,
Have a good day.
you too.
And they granted parole. She will be getting out February 2025 unless something else comes up. And now I just want to point out really the ridiculousness of this entire thing. She has a 0 to 15-year sentence. They put on conditions. Look, just don't get another write-up and you'll get paroled. And what does she do? She gets another write-up. And she also has one pending. And then on top of it, she has a detainer, a federal detainer. And typically what we see in these paroles is in the announcement is they will say, you're getting paroled to your federal detainer. We did not see that in the notes. Now, look, The problem is that we are seeing here is that DOC, it's meant to rehabilitate, it's meant to protect, it's also meant for retribution. In this case, I don't think we saw any rehabilitation. If you are getting write-ups in prison, the likelihood of her getting her parole revoked out of prison, I think, are quite high. Now, you might say, Mandu, everyone can get write-ups in prison, and that's true. And it seems that Utah people get more write-ups than in other states. But we do see many parole hearings where there are those that don't have write-ups, many, hundreds. So it's look, it's not a good look, because it's almost like a predictor into what probably we're going to see when she gets out. Also, getting the face tattoos, let's be real. I mean, she had a high enough obstacle to climb to ever be an accountant. I know it sounds crazy to say. You're taking accounting classes. I doubt she could ever legally be allowed to be an accountant. And I'm not sure anyone would ever pay her to do her books. Her jacket is loaded with for example, in this arrest, possession of credit cards without the owner consent, 9-count misdemeanor possession of stolen property, plus her fugitive felony warrant. And then they tied her to, what was it, 7 cars that were broken into. Sure, I'll hire the person with the face tattoos and that in their jacket to do my books. It's, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? What do I know? I don't know what the answer is. But if you don't think that news gets around prison, that the board can tell you, hey, don't get write-ups and you'll get paroled, and then you get write-ups and you get paroled, that creates the culture in the prison. That creates it, and it sets it going forward. And you're just not going to have the same discipline that we see in other prisons. For example, Louisiana, we watch them progress, and I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair, but it is the way that it is. You now cannot get a parole hearing if you have had one write-up within a 3-year period. It used to be an unofficial rule within 1 year. Then it became an official rule. You simply cannot have a parole hearing within a year, and now they've upped it to 3 years. But you know what we see in Louisiana? And it might be a cultural thing too, a Southern thing, but they have respect for the COs, they have respect for the wardens, and they don't get write-ups like what we see in Louisiana. Now, there might be a Freakonomics data thing there because we're only seeing the best of the best. That's possible, but it is different. And Utah, they got to do something. They got to change something, because what we see out of Utah, it ain't pretty. And with that, I'll let you go.
You were granted a November release contingent on no disciplinary violations. And then in October, the board received notice that you had a new disciplinary violation for fighting.
Yes, sir.
That's the whole purpose for today's hearing.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to provide an explanation on that fighting?
Honestly, sir, it was just a misunderstanding, and it just escalated, and it shouldn't have escalated to that. The person that I did had that altercation with, we are good friends now still. It just got too heated, and I do apologize for that.
I wasn't gonna, put anybody else in danger, it was to take myself out, it wasn't to put anybody else in danger. Like, I would obviously make sure that I wasn't gonna do any harm to anybody else,
And obviously, I don't want anything to happen to you either.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a woman who just cannot stay out of prison. Now, I'm going to share information with you that might surprise you at the end of this hearing, and I'll also give you the results. For now, let's jump in.
In regards to your offense, I do show that case 2419-01344. I show on May 11th, 2024, an officer observed a vehicle traveling with expired registration. A traffic stop was initiated. The driver was Diego and the passenger was Miss Sandoval. Diego said the motorcycle belonged to his friend. A records check revealed both individuals were on APMP. The Sandoval provided a pouch with a prescription bottle containing a white and brown substance. She said it was mushrooms. 8 used hypodermic needles were also located. She said she used it for meth. Is that correct, ma'am?
correct.
Anything you want to say about the offense? How do you know Diego?
I was just a friend.
Do you still have continuing contact with him?
I do not.
Were you using at the time, ma'am?
I was
What were you using?
mushrooms and meth, but it was just that month. Prior to that, I was.
Meaning you were using in that month?
It was just that month, yeah. It was prior before that, I was sober for 5.5 years.
Okay. So can you kind of expand on that for me? It sounds like 5.5 years. That's
Yeah.
a really good amount of time.
Yeah, I'd end up just getting sick. So I ended up I had just found it because I was at a rehab. I had prior because I was at the prison here. I'd gotten released. I had to go to the core program. I had graduated from that. I'd gotten sick. They'd sent me to this clinic or whatever, and they said that I had cervical cancer. And so
Sorry to
that
hear
just
that.
kind of tipped me off, and I was just like, okay, whatever. And my PO was just saying, Karen Prevedel was at the point saying, well, she's not doing this and this, but how do you only get 4 UAs? And it even says in my board jacket that none of them came back dirty, none of them came back. I was never refusing any of my UAs. So, and it just was like, okay, well, what's the point type thing. So that's just where my conclusion was. It's like, whatever. Like even before that, I had just driven my Jeep off a cliff. So that even, I know it's kind of absurd, but yeah.
And I think we're going to get to that because
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in the probation report. But I do want to ask, so have you been getting treatment for cancer?
Yeah, I've been going to the U. I was actually microdosing with those mushrooms. I mean, the bill passed last year, so it's legal, but I didn't have a prescription at the point. So that's where all that was,
Okay.
so I guess I could have gone all about it the right way, but I didn't. So
Okay.
not saying that it's, what's the word? I was enabling it.
I mean, but I'm asking, right? Because I
Yeah,
want insight, because
so-
it sounds like you were talking about, I mean, 5.5 years, like I said, that's a really long
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And I would assume that that's what you wanted, was to be sober if you were doing it
Yeah.
for 5.5 years. So I'm trying to get insight, which I appreciate. And it sounds like you went through
What?
a lot of struggles, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I do want to make sure I get to what happened on parole. So we will talk about that in just a second, but I definitely want to get to the allegations
Yeah.
contained in the warrant. I want you to understand, ma'am, if you plea admit or no contest to any or all of these allegations, the rights that you're waiving, okay?
Yeah.
You're waiving your right to have the state prove in an evidentiary hearing by a preponderance of the evidence standard the allegations they maintain. They would have the ability to bring witnesses and exhibits. You would have a right to cross-examine them. You would have a right to bring your own witnesses and exhibits. If there were any unadjudicated criminal charges, you could remain silent. The board can make an inference from your silence. You'd also have the right and be appointed an attorney. Ma'am, if you plea admit no contest to any or all of these allegations, do you understand that you're waiving those rights?
Mm.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I don't.
Number one, by having committed or having been convicted of a new criminal offense or violated a court order, possession of a controlled substance, class A misdemeanor, or having associated with the person involved in that criminal activity on or about May 11th, 2024. Admit, deny, or no contest.
Admit.
Number two, by having committed or having been convicted of a new criminal offense or violated a court order, use or possession of drug paraphernalia, a class B misdemeanor, or having associated with the person involved in that criminal activity on or about May 11th, 2024.
Admit.
Admit, you said? Sorry. Number three, by having associated with the person involved in criminal activity, probationer and felon Diego Labia.
Yeah, admit. I don't know his last
Okay,
name.
I apologize if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
On or about May 11th, 2024.
Yeah.
Uh,
Admit.
Number four, by having used methamphetamine on or about May 11th, 2024.
Admit.
Number five, by having failed to report to APMP on the date released from prison, report is directed, absconded, parole, or left the state of Utah or any other state to which transferred without written permission from the parole agent on or about May 11th, 2024.
Admit.
All right. Number six, by having failed to establish, reside at, or change without prior approval of APMP the residence of record on or about May 11th, 2024.
Admit.
And last one, ma'am, by having failed to enter into, participate in, or complete treatment as directed on or about May 11th, 2024.
So that one's conflicting, I guess. I'm not,
You can plea however you want, ma'am.
okay, I don't admit.
Deny?
Yeah, I deny that one.
Okay, because obviously I'm not your attorney, I'm a hearing officer, so you get to decide how you
Yeah.
play it. Yeah, okay. So you did admit to allegations 1 through 6. I can revoke your prior parole and take judicial notice of the new case, okay? So I do want to talk about allegation number 5 specifically, and that's where in the warrant request, I think, talk about what you were talking about. They talked about and I don't do this to be rude, right? I'm just trying to get insight to what was going on. That you were driving, the officers located your vehicle, you had taken off down a canyon road,
Yeah.
and that you had made it not very, it sounds like not very far, and that you crashed
Mhm.
and went down the mountain. So obviously that's concerning. I don't know if there were individuals around your vehicle, but obviously the potential there could be very dangerous. So kind of tell me what was going on there.
I just wasn't in the right mindset, and I mean, I was by myself, and nobody was around. Obviously, I wasn't gonna, put anybody else in danger. It was to take myself out. It wasn't to put anybody else in danger. Like, I would obviously make sure that I wasn't gonna do any harm to anybody else. Like,
And obviously I don't want anything to happen to you either.
well, I mean,
But
that was what the point was, but in that moment, I mean, I'm doing way better now, and because
what do you contribute? You're talking about things are different.
yeah.
So what do you think, why do you think that change has occurred?
Well, I mean, because I'm better. I'm taking medication, whereas back then I just kind of stopped doing everything. I'm in an Aspire program right now, and I kind of just stopped talking to a lot of people. I mean, I wasn't surrounding myself with the right people back then. Um, I think that I had to get a clear mindset. I had to stop doing what I was doing. I had to stop talking to a lot of people. I mean, I'm probably just being redundant right now, going in circles, but um, I am being more receptive to, feedback, whereas I just wasn't then.
Are you also seeing anybody for mental health?
Yes, and it's monthly right now, which I'd like to see more often, but like, it just seems like they're just more so in the way, oh, well, we'll only see you for meds. Well, no, I'd like to be seen for, to talk to somebody, not just for my medication. Like, I need a therapist, that's where we're at with mental health here. We need a therapist. We need someone to talk to, not just for medication. Like, we need to be talked to.
Gotcha. So how would you describe your current mental health?
I think it's good. I mean, not the best, but it's good. I mean, I go to work every day. Like, ever since I got out of like the RNO intake, I go to work every day. And
Where do you work?
I work in culinary.
Good.
Yeah. And the last time I was here, like from where I was at last time, the 3 years I did, it's way better than I was, because I was usually in max or mental health. And that's a huge step from where I was. I'm not getting write-ups. My last, major write-up was 2 years ago. Whereas here, I've only got 3 negative C notes from the beginning, and
I show no disciplinary violations, which is really good, ma'am.
from last time I was here. Yeah. And, I've had better communication with officers and inmates, and, I go to work every day, go to school for an hour every day so I can graduate. And, it's just, I'm trying to do the best that I can.
It's good. It's good. It sounds like you're thinking of things that you would like long-term.
Yeah.
Which is really good. Any particular goal you have for long-term or success?
Yeah. So I'm actually, you guys did, so when I was out this last time, I was doing firefighting, wildland firefighting.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to continue doing that. And my long-term goal is to just do that and be able to get my LLC in business so that I can eventually do my own, get my own company and try to bring maybe the wildland firefighting here for women who can, eventually do themselves good.
Good.
And if that doesn't work out, but, try something else. But that's just been a big thing of mine, and just to continue forward with that and just go up the ladder with that. That's just my biggest thing is, looking at something bigger than my own.
Sounds like you've thought about your future, which is really good, and goals you want to set, which will help. Sounds like you want to be sober again, obviously.
Absolutely.
So those are all good things. Do you think you need substance use treatment?
Well, I think my biggest area is I think it always helps, having that, crutch right there. But I think that at this point on, like, seeing how my mental state is my biggest problem is where that leads me to all of that, because that's what my biggest downfall is, my mental health.
Okay.
That leads me to going into all the other things.
And I'm asking, right? Like I want insight into what Because if you are successful, that's good for you, that's good for the community, that's good for the board, right? Like, so I want to hear what you think will help in your success, right?
Yeah.
And I also show that you completed anger management. Is that
Yes,
right?
I
What'd you think of that?
I actually liked it because, you know, seeing as where, you know, anger isn't really what it is, it's emotional regulation.
Okay. So did you learn ways to deal with that?
I did.
Okay. Do you want to share any of those or?
Well, yeah, they, you know, there's this episode or this movie that they showed us, or this video. It was just like, what is water? You know, and there's just this craziest thing. It's like you never really know what people are going through because it's like day in and day out, and just regulating your emotions, and you know, like all of it is just, you know, you gotta, you know, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just really
It's
bad
a,
at,
but
like,
yeah, it sounds like you took it in and learned some things that
Yeah.
could be helpful moving forward. So that's really
yeah,
good.
exactly.
Okay, ma'am. In regards to release plans, I showed that you would like to live by yourself or with your siblings and Roy and work in firefighting, which you already mentioned. Do you have a specific place in regards to where you plan on living now, or is it sounded maybe like you were still working things out when you wrote your board packet?
Oh, things a little bit and changed a little bit. I mean, it still wouldn't be Roy, with my siblings, or either in Ogden with my mom. But you know, yeah, I'm kind of just still with. There was your early termination was kind of just where I'd want to go since my expiration's next year in September.
I do show your expiration date, expiration of sentence, assuming no other offenses, is September 30th, 2025.
Yeah, because all of them just expired.
So would you like, so it sounds like you're requesting
Yes, I would.
a termination of
Yeah,
sentence.
either termination or whatever's.
So just to make sure, I don't want to relay the information incorrectly. Are you saying you will refuse parole or are you just requesting a termination?
I would request early termination because I don't really see what would, you know,
Be beneficial?
if, yeah,
Okay.
it'd be
And I-
beneficial.
And I don't know what the board will do, right?
Right.
But but I will let them know that that's what you would like moving forward and that you're requesting that. It sounds like to me that you're not refusing parole, but that obviously you would like a termination.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, would it be sound bad if it was like a refusal of parole?
I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding correctly, right?
I mean, I kind of would just, I don't know. Does it sound bad if you say refusal of parole?
I mean, if you,
Could I refuse parole? Is that even possible?
I would, I don't want to advise you, ma'am, because I'm not your attorney, right?
Well, right, I know,
So
but
but what I would tell you is that I'm just trying to relay the information properly to the board because I'm a hearing officer and
Right.
I make recommendations. So,
okay.
and
Can you recommend me to refuse?
so I'll note that you're requesting a termination, right? And I'll
Okay.
note they're gonna see that your expiration date is about a little less than a year, about 11 months.
Yeah.
right? So they'll see all those things. I just don't know what the board will do. And I just want to make sure that I'm relaying that information as properly as possible.
Okay.
And you don't have to give me an answer right now. If you just want to say you would request a termination and then I can write
Yes,
that.
I
and
could
then we'll
request
see
a
what happens. Okay.
termination. Yeah.
All right, now, those are all of my questions. From here, I'm a hearing officer. I make recommendations. The board
Okay.
ultimately decides. They're made up of 5 members. 3 of them have to come to one decision. That's the decision of the board. You should get that in writing within 2 to 4 weeks. Your family members, your friends, anyone listening to this hearing via video can go to bop.utah.gov. As soon as we have the decision, we post on our website. So it'll take some time. It's not immediate, but it's fast on the website, then the mail, so someone can look that up for you. I would note your guideline is 6 months or November 11th, 2024. The board ultimately decides, right? We've already gone over your expiration of sentence. Do you have any closing comments or questions for myself or for the board?
Yes, I just have this paper that I wrote. Maybe I could share with you. Okay, so I just put, I have accomplished a lot and I'm more receptive, and this improved version of myself begins with a different element, a change, a different reaction, and a different word, a different routine, a different perspective, and a different investment, a different choice. And I'm human and I have the ability to reach out to those, and I have a better purpose. And about where I build up and not fall short, on where I contribute, not where I take away. A growth mindset, something of great value. I show up for this community by serving others, and I show up for myself by taking care of my needs, mental and physical. I am becoming more and more of myself, and I am more resilient, experienced, and enlightened. I am intuitive and faithful, informed, sympathetic, and more enduring. Skill transformation does not happen at the end; it's in the midst of this all. So please acknowledge this improved version of myself today and what I've accomplished. I'm better and rather improved, then continue the behavior that got me here. And I'm willing to hold myself accountable to this community for my actions and welcome this positive change and redirection from which and any way this goes. So thank you for your time.
I appreciate you taking the time to read that, to write that. It shows you really thought about this hearing, and I really appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so Utah they granted effective 12/10/2024. Now that is like a gift because she had her full term date of 5/10. So it's like 6 months early or 5 months early. But what's shocking to me about this, and I gotta say, I liked her. I thought that there's a certain type of, she had a nice smile. She had some, I thought, positive energy. I actually liked her. I was rooting for her. But the moment that she said, when she's asked the question, do you think that substance abuse program would help? And she says, it's a good crutch, but what I really need is just like, it's like a psychologist, like to, and maybe I'm just like drunk on the Mr. Marabella Kool-Aid, and I've seen too many of these parole hearings in the programs. But when I share with you the information that I have that Sir Richard put up, I would say, no, you've lost the right to say that. You are a danger. Let me share with you. She has over 5 DUIs on her record. 5 convictions. Not to mention that her most recent situation, she drove her vehicle off a cliff. You're dangerous. These are the most dangerous offenders. She doesn't even acknowledge that she has a problem. And I get it. Therapy is really important. That's probably is the root of the issue that you need to figure out. But you lost that. Look, 2017. DUI 1, it also says it here. I assume it's the same thing, right? Including possession of spice. Then you move up. Let's go to 7/18/2018, another DUI. And again, the same type of offenses. Let's move up here to 9/10/2018, another DUI. This is number 3. Plus, again, everything else, spice, forgery, blah, blah, blah. 9/30/2018, forgery and possession of paraphernalia. Thank God, no DUI 20 days later. Then 10/2/2018, another DUI. This is a 4th of what we are counting. Plus everything else, right? It's operating without insurance, without registration, without insurance. You want to do your DUI stuff, you want to drive without a license, fine, but make sure you have insurance. That's just the most tragic when you have these morons crash into you and now you're stuck with the bill. Driving under the influence. Again, this is 7/26 with a suspended license. I mean, they're literally just putting her out on the street and letting her do. And not only that, but she's a horrible driver, apparently. I mean, God. They say you don't get caught every time you do a DUI. Maybe she does. I mean, it looks like she has no idea how to drive. That's her 5th DUI. 6/12/2019, possession of controlled substance, use paraphernalia, driving on a suspended license. I mean, I would only assume, like, what are the odds that this wasn't a DUI? But I don't know. She didn't get that. 12/23/2021. Now this is like going through her different stuff that she's required to do, blah, blah, blah. And then she has the most recent thing where she drove her car off a cliff, which again, I just, probably would assume. But there we go. Again, I liked her. I thought that there was something, I don't know, that it seemed like her heart was in the right place, but that you're not helping them by just releasing them into a system, a cycle of repeating itself. There should be, like in Louisiana, they'd be like, you know what? And even she's saying, I just want to terminate my sentence. I don't want parole. Just terminate my sentence. And they said, sure, we'll terminate your sentence. So no parole supervision, nothing. You just get out there and you're going to fail. That's my understanding of at least what we just saw. In Louisiana, they'd be like, let's send you to an intensive 9-month program. Or maybe we'll send you somewhere you might get yourself 3 months out early if you put in the work. But here they are releasing someone who the odds are just simply stacked against her to succeed no matter where her heart is. That's my 2 cents on this. Thank you, Sir Richard, for the info. And if you're driving in Utah, be careful, be safe out there. With that, I'll let you go.
Do you think you need substance use treatment?
Well, I think my biggest thing area is I mean, I think it always helps, you know, having that, you know, crutch right there. But I think that at this point on, like, seeing how my mental state is my biggest problem is where that leads me to all of that, because you know, that's what my biggest downfall is, my mental health.
And I just met people that, oh, I don't even know. I just met people that wanted something done to him, and I was kind of, I just feel like I was put in a situation where I didn't really know what else to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were driving back from California, and again, I just was not thinking clearly because it's not a choice that I would have made had I been sober.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a Utah woman who attempted to kill her boyfriend. Now, she set the whole thing up. She had two other men, really barely men, 18 and 19 years old, while she was 35. She convinced them to ambush her boyfriend with AR-15 rifles, and it is a miracle that he survived it. But what's crazy about this case, what I find to be just absolutely nuts, is that she only just tried to kill her boyfriend on July 26th of 2023. Yet somehow up for parole hearing on 1/9 of 2025. This would shock, I think, most people, but what we have found is that in the state of Utah, sentencing guidelines, they're gimmicks. Truth in sentencing, it doesn't exist. You can actually have attempted murder and have a parole hearing within a year of getting locked up. And I think for most, that just seems unbelievable. Now, they don't go through very much or as much details as I would like in this parole hearing, but don't worry. At the end, I will tell you the decision of the Utah Parole Board and read through some of the details on this case. But for now, let's jump in.
So let's go over your current committing offense really quick. In case 231-600-157, you were convicted of a second-degree felony attempted murder. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about this case. It happened around July 21st, 2023.
Sorry, I'm extremely nervous. So it stemmed from just very heavy drug use. And about 4 months before I got this case, I was stabbed in the back and I had to shoot someone in the neck out of self-defense. But that happened to me and I didn't know how to deal with any of that. So about 4 months later, I got this case. And I think like I did victim impact and I kind of learned about how traumatized people traumatize people. So I think that was initially why I was in this situation. It's awful. Like I really feel bad about what happened. And I feel like I've changed 3 people's lives forever. And I've spent the past year and a half trying to like logically make sense of how I became someone that did this. So I think since I've been here, I think the best thing that I could do is just become a better person. So it's not wasted time or wasted, impact on my victim. I guess I don't know how else to word it.
Okay, so I appreciate the information. You didn't tell me exactly what had happened though. So I'm going to give you what I have and then you can tell me if there's anything you want to add. So basically it appears what had happened is the victim in this case, you and he were traveling back from LA. At some point you were driving and you had taken him to a dirt road, at which point you claimed that there was something wrong with the vehicle. He didn't really believe you at the time. You got out of the vehicle. He got into the driver's side and started the vehicle and would not get out of the vehicle. That's when shooting started to happen. So it was basically like a setup that you had orchestrated between other people. He fled the scene at the time and got help at a local store. Officers eventually located you in a vehicle with the other 2 individuals that were part of this. And there were 2 AR-15 style rifles as well as a $4,000 in cash. Is that pretty accurate, sir? Or ma'am?
Yes.
At the time, you also tested positive for cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and benzodiazepines. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So I understand the information as far as the trauma goes. Tell me what led up to this though.
It was, sorry, it's hard to word. So I was selling drugs and we went to California to get drugs. And I just met people that, oh, I don't even know. I just met people that wanted something done to him, and I was kind of, I just feel like I was put in a situation where I didn't really know what else to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were driving back from California, and again, I just was not thinking clearly because it's not a choice that I would have made had I been sober.
Okay. Tell me what got you on your path of substance use.
I started using opiates when I was about 18.
Okay.
And I actually got clean. So I was clean for a little over 8 years when I started using again. And then within about 5 months, I came here. So it was like a very quick progression when I relapsed.
What caused you to relapse?
I had my husband and me divorced, so I was kind of by myself, and I started justifying it in my head that I could use certain substances, and I can't use anything.
What usually causes you to relapse?
Isolation, and kind of not having a purpose, and I've struggled with that a lot of my life. Struggling with jobs, like what things that I wanted to do. So I think that's been a big issue for me. Just not really knowing the direction that I want to take my life. And I've also struggled with riding the fence between being a good person and like a productive member of society. And then, out of addiction, I have the devil on my shoulder, kind of pulling me back into that life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you owe restitution in this case, are you willing to pay that?
Yes.
What would you say to your victim if they were here, ma'am?
I would just say that I'm sorry. And I mean, we were friends, and I just feel really bad. And I hope that through this, he was able to get help that he needed to from what happened to him.
Fine. You said you're in the Elevate program. Tell me a little bit about what you have done since you've been here. It looks like you're in that, but you have only completed.
I think I graduate in April or the end of March.
Okay. Is this IOP or residential?
It's residential.
Okay. So they show that you completed IOP in November. So then does that mean that residential started after IOP?
To be honest, I don't know. I think so. I've completed all the actual courses that Elevate offers, but I think they're doing a 6-month minimum. So I'm kind of just waiting till I hit that 6-month mark, but I have done all the classes.
I show that you have a few different disciplinaries from it looks like from when you first got here.
Yeah.
Tell me about those. You've got a tampering with any lock security device.
So that was a gun port. It's like in the window and you can press it and it opens.
What were you doing with it?
I was giving someone shoes through it.
And then in February, you've got a couple. One is tattooing, branding, body piercing. Tell me about that one.
I had rolled up paper and put them in my ears. So I had like paper earrings in my ear.
Okay. And then that same day you had prohibited sexual acts, indecent exposure. Tell me about that.
I kissed somebody and it was on camera.
And then tell me about the 19th of February, refuse, resist, arrest, movement, do, or command. It's one of those many that they've put
Oh,
together.
could it have been an out of bounds?
It's possible.
Okay, because I think that's the only write-up that you haven't mentioned that I have. And that was, I was in a bathroom stall. It was a fight.
Were you involved in the fight or were you
Um,
watching the fight?
I was involved, but I was drug in there, and that I've been in a few fights, but I have not started any of the fights. I don't think I have a disciplinary for fighting.
You don't. What do you feel like for you, if anything, has changed moving forward so that you don't end up in this type of situation again?
Medication, as you mentioned, is for me really important. I'm sorry, can you repeat what you said?
What do you feel like for you overall
Oh,
has
okay.
changed so you don't end up in this situation?
Yeah, medication's big. Doing the intensive treatment that I'm in right now has really helped, and I've done a lot of classes, just to really like learn about myself because again, I've struggled with that my whole life. And then I'm also in the robotics program. So having a way to get out and support myself is going to be really important too.
What other classes have you done?
I've done MRT, victim impact. I've done everything that is an Elevate, so CBI, CBI, SU, grief group. I've pretty much done everything that's available.
You mentioned a self-defense situation that you had where you had to shoot somebody. Did you get
Yes.
charges for that?
No, it was self-defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if the board chooses to parole you, what is that going to look like for you?
I would like to go to, so I have a house in Daybreak, but it's being rented out right now. So my goal is to go to a sober living. I think that at this point, that's going to be the best route for me.
What about work?
I plan on doing something, so I'll have the automation engineering degree, so that's what I'll do with that, that I'll earn in robotics.
You ever had an issue getting work?
What was that?
Have you ever had an issue getting work?
No.
Is there anything else you feel like the board needs to know or you'd like the board to know at this point?
I think that although I came in here on just really bad circumstances, I have learned a lot about myself and the direction that I want to take my life. So I think, like I said earlier, the best thing that I can do is just come out of this a better person. And I do feel like I've made a lot of changes for the better.
Okay.
And I know that, again, I was here under bad circumstances, but I am proud of myself for what I've done because I think it's very easy to come here and fall into, again, like the devil that's on my shoulder, pulling me into that life. But I've really chose to do something with my time and
Okay.
come out a better person.
What I plan on doing is taking this information that we discussed, compiling this into a report and submitting this to the board. You have an 18-month guideline, which puts you at January 21st, 2025. That is just a guideline. I'll be honest with you, with the charges that you have for an attempted murder, I don't see them letting you out that quickly. That seems like a quick turnaround, even for me, for the level of offense that you have for an attempted murder. So I would suggest not planning on getting out anytime around that time. They'll take into consideration what you're doing and what you have done since you've been here.
Well, I complete Elevate in April.
And I understand
Yeah.
that. And just because you complete a program doesn't mean that that's an automatic parole.
Okay.
Just be aware of that.
Yeah.
You've got some serious charges,
Mhm.
clearly. You're well aware of that.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
And 18 months, to me is crazy short,
Yeah.
given the level of offense this is, or the severity in general of the offense that this is. So I don't typically talk about recommendations or potentially what the board could do. But I don't want you going out of here thinking you're getting out in April, May, or June, because I don't see that happening. Could it happen? Yes, because it's ultimately up to the board what they choose to do with your case. But I would not expect that to happen. They are made up of 5 members, so it takes a majority vote for them to make a decision in your case. Usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get that decision out to you. Again, they will take into consideration what you have done up to this point and what you are currently doing. You have a 15-year top for July 21st, 2038. That is the length of time the board will have jurisdiction over your case, given there are no other further offenses. Do you have any other questions or comments for me?
So how would it work with the time cuts that I would earn?
You get time cuts if you have a parole date. There is a chance that they could have you complete a rehearing or have you do a rehearing in future, just to have another hearing to discuss kind of what you've learned in that you've completed it and everything else. The only time a time cut happens is if you actually have a parole date that's listed. Okay, so if they come back and they're like, you know what, let's give her a chance to parole in December, then once you complete Elevate, then you would get that 4-month time cut that would put you potentially in July or August. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you get a rehearing date, then you're not going to get that time cut. But they would take into consideration, again, the fact that you complete that program at that next hearing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this hearing. Thank you. Good luck to you and have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, so they denied, and I don't think that should surprise anyone, but then again, it's Utah, and you never know. I mean, it is mind blowing. Even to the parole interview, it's like, what? You have a parole hearing? You just had attempted murder, and I know they didn't go into the details of this crime very much at all. It's just almost, I mean, the whole hearing is like less than 20 minutes, but I will review the information with you. But just take a look at this. I mean, this is the decision here: attempted murder. Second degree. Can you imagine in Utah, the legislation allows for a 1-year minimum sentence? That's why she has maximum 15 years. And here's the decision. They're going to give her another hearing in 2026, which is in a year. I mean, she's going to get why? I mean, I guess it's a good thing we didn't see the, a victim here. I don't really understand the situation, but what we did see actually, and thank you, Sir Richard and Holly, for doing the research on this together as a team. And I wish I would have more information to share with you. You would think that this case where just 6 months prior, she had to shoot a man, where apparently it was a self-defense thing. And then 6 months later, she tries to murder her boyfriend. And I don't like it. I don't like this hearing. I don't like her. I don't like, the whole thing feels very manipulative. She's like pie in the sky. I don't know. None of it feels good to me. The whole thing just it reeks. But if you're wondering, well, it's because she's a woman and they're taking it easy on her. No, her co-defendant came up for parole like 2 weeks later. I have the hearing. I'm going to play a clip from it for you, but I'm not going to play the whole thing because there's nothing in it really. They don't talk about anything about the crime. There's 1 second here. Let's play it.
Perfect. So let's start by talking about your offenses. I read the pre-sentence reports, and so I know the official version of what transpired in each situation. But let's talk about the attempted murder. From your perspective, what happened?
Well, essentially, I drove to a meeting point where I fired shots at my victim in a car.
Okay. And why did you choose to engage in that behavior?
Honestly, I just didn't know how to walk away from the situation. And I just wasn't there mentally at the time, and so my judgment was off.
Were you using controlled substances at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you using?
Cocaine.
And what was the meeting in regards to? Why were you going to meet this individual?
Because my co-defendant had basically just sprung it on me that we needed to go and shoot at him. essentially.
Did you know your victim prior to this incident?
Not personally, no.
And like I said, that was it. They didn't go into any other information, and they gave him the same terms, the same 1 to 15-year sentence, the same parole eligibility immediately, within 1 year, and a rehearing opportunity again in 1 year. And he, like her, also doesn't have a great record. He's got so many tattoo write-ups. All this ink on his face is new, as far as my understanding. And the board interviewer kept bringing it up over and over and saying, hey, if you want to get parole, you got to follow the rules. And it's just interesting. Now let me read the crimes to you, and to just see how really, you can hear about attempted murder. This was an ambush. They fired rounds into this guy's car. They should have killed him. It's, like I said, a miracle that he survived. And I just don't understand how Utah, how it's such a light. It's almost like they just want to sweep it under the rug and pretend that it never happened. And so let me go through this. And thank you, Holly and Sir Richard. So 3 people arrested over the weekend in Juab County during a narcotics investigation, and are now believed to have conspired to kill a 4th person who was with one of the suspects. And by the way, the 3rd male person who was involved in this crime, we are going to get his parole hearing in a couple of weeks. So if it's interesting, I'll show it to you. And thank you, Sir Richard, again, for making sure that I know all of that. All of this is in the spreadsheets, makes it easy to see when these hearings happen, when the decisions are made, and connect the dots. Jordan Mendoza, can you imagine 35 years old bringing a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old to go and kill your boyfriend? How they got away with such light sentencing is just blows my mind. Tyler Lester Perry, 20, and Gavino Santana Rich, 18, were arrested Friday and booked in the Juab County Jail for investigation of narcotic possession. Tuesday, an attempted murder allegation was added to each of the suspects' booking sheet. The investigation began at about 5:30 a.m. Friday when Tristan Scott entered a convenience store in Nephi and was bleeding and seemed confused. According to a police book affidavit, Edmonds claimed he was driving his Toyota Highlander when 3 of his car windows were shot out, and that he was shot at in the field somewhere. Can you even imagine? He said he was driving back to Los Angeles when Mendoza, his girlfriend, right? She was driving while he was asleep in the passenger seat. So she's asleep. She's driving. When Tristan woke up, they were parked in a field. Jordan was telling him that the car was knocking and leaking oil. Edmondson got into the driver's seat and was able to start the car, but as soon as he did, someone began shooting at him. Edmondson told police that he sped away, got to the freeway, and drove over 100 miles an hour until he could find the nearest gas station. And again, these guys are the worst shot in the world, where they are intentionally missing because they don't want it. But I mean, can you even imagine? And it drives me nuts with these parole hearings as well, how these parole interviews just don't dive into it. They don't and what was her excuse? Oh yeah, there are some people that wanted him dead, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay. And it's like, no, that's not okay. The parole interviewers, this is the problem with Utah, is that they have the interviewer and then they have the parole board members handpicked by the governor. And the parole board members get a report in their computer. They get we cover we can easily watch, 40, 50 parole hearings a day. More than that, maybe even 100 from Utah. They just get in their spreadsheet at the end of the day, and they're drinking, their happy hour, and it's Utah, so I don't know, some tea, and they're just going down the spreadsheet and checkbox. They don't have if you actually watch this parole hearing, you would say, no, this person's not ready to get out. They are not taking accountability. They're not even expressing what actually happened. They're still speaking like code. This is attempted murder. Anyways, Nephi police officers responded to the gas station and found that Tristan had injuries and was bleeding from his neck, head, and wrists. Medical responded and treated him. It was determined that Tristan did not need to be transported to the hospital. I guess it was the glass that got him. Officers found Mendoza's purse inside the Toyota that Edmondson was driving and began pinging her phone. Investigators also learned another vehicle registered to Mendoza was spotted in Mona. The police ended up locating Jordan's vehicle traveling north I-15. A felony stop was conducted where Jordan and two male suspects, later identified as Tyler and Gavino, were taken into custody. In the rear of the vehicle, AR-15 style weapons with an S were located in the plain view. The weapons had bandanas covering parts of the gun where your hands would be while firing the weapon, the affidavit said. Dude, what these the dumbest criminals in the world. Go shoot up a car, let the guy get away, and still be driving on a main highway with your guns on you. That the sharpest tools in the shed. But don't worry, you reward them with a 1-year minimum 1 to 15-year sentence. Officers drove Edmondson to various locations between Mona and Nephi to try to locate where the shooting took place. They noted he was helpful to officers at first, then eventually stopped complying with officers and requested that he have an attorney present for any further interaction. When police ran a background check on Edmondson, they learned that he had 4 warrants out of Georgia for several violations, including assault. A search warrant was obtained on the Highlander he was driving, and 1 kilo. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. They bust them with a kilo, 2 assault rifles. He has warrants, and they still only give a minimum of 1 to 15 years. That's insane. I'm looking at his document right here. This is insane. They only got them with 1 charge. They didn't get them with the other charges. Why? Attempt to distribute, possess, all that. No. They go out of their way to say, oh, yeah, let's just give you the lightest, easiest sentence possible. Why? I don't know. What do I know? I don't know anything. Edmund was arrested for investigation of drug possession with intent to distribute. As detectives continued their investigation over the weekend, they learned that the Toyota was a rental and was able to obtain GPS data, which showed it stopping in a small town in Rocky Ridge, Juab County. It is believed that this is around the same time that the shooting took place. And what happened, as Tristan described, the affidavit states, after Tristan found out about Jordan's vehicle that was registered her being in Mona right before they got there, is when Tristan suggested that Jordan set up with her friends to rob him. Tristan claimed to have around $4,000 in cash under the passenger side rental vehicle. So, I mean, they're claiming here that the whole thing was just robbery. She tried to make it seem like she had no choice. There are people that needed him dead. I don't believe her for a second. After, of course, that just makes no sense. After an extensive search, Juab County Sheriff's deputies found where the shooting had happened, located foot impressions in the dirt that matched their shoes, according to the affidavit, as well as 4 shell casings. I believe Jordan was communicating with Tyler and Gavino while they were driving Jordan's vehicle. I believe Jordan was conspiring with Tyler and Gavino, deputy wrote. So, I don't know. Craziness. That's all I can say is what I think is it's just crazy. I don't understand how the law works, how you can find someone with just a kilo of that kind of stuff in their trunk and get 15 years easy. But now you have people who are really breaking the law in every way, including attempted homicide. And you have a minimum term of 1 to 15. I bet if they stay out of trouble, they will be paroled next year. They'll serve like a whole 2.5 years for this crime, which. And then she had, what was that? She said she got a degree in automation engineering degree. It sounds fancy. Did she get that in prison? I missed that part. Anyways, I'll keep you posted. On this hearing. Make sure to check out the return of playlist if you want to keep tabs and see where this goes. And I'll also connect the dots with a third hearing if it is more insightful. But with that, we could jump into the next hearing.
Did you have a chance to review your whole blue packet?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any questions on that?
No.
I do also show that you had a federal case, which has since been taken care of, correct?
Yeah.
And you had a 15-month sentence?
So it's 27. We're estimating about 15 months left. So
Okay.
with like good time. So
And it's running along with this one, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I hope so.
I think it is. That's how I have interpreted it.
Okay.
Not to say that if it's not, what I say is law, just so you
Right.
know.
Okay.
Um, reviewing that psychological evaluation, what were your thoughts on that?
Honestly, okay, so when he came and met with me, he told me he already had it written. He just needed to fill in a few spots. So I kind of felt some type of way about it because I was like, how are you going to have this written without even meeting with me?
Right.
You know, I feel like he kind of twisted some stuff that I said.
Okay.
Like I do have an addiction.
sure.
However, I have like been clean. Like this is prison, stuff comes in, you know, but I have been drug tested. I've passed every drug test. Like I've maintained sobriety even around it, you know, and so I feel like he kind of discredited like what I have done, you
Okay.
know, so yeah.
So you've been clean since you've been here.
Yeah. Well, since my whole incarceration, so 3 years almost.
Yeah.
32 months.
When is the last time you used?
It was May 24th of 2022.
What have you been doing since you've been here?
I graduated high school and I did have a job at UCI commissary for a while, for a little over a year. But then I started doing web and graphic design after I graduated high school. So I do that every single day, Monday through Friday.
Is that through college?
Yeah, DATC, Davis Tech.
Okay, before I forget, let's go over your current committing offenses really quick. You've got, in your case, 241-700-336, you were convicted of 2 third-degree felonies. One was possession of forgery writing device, and the other one was possession of an identity card or documents. It looks like officers were called at a motel on October 6, 2021 in Layton of 2 occupants who had paid for a room that had been declined on a card. When they searched the room, they found numerous stolen checks that were in different stages of being forged, identifying documents, stolen mail belonging to other people, drug paraphernalia, a printer, which appeared to be for creating forged documents. Is that about accurate, ma'am?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And before you'd been brought in on these other charges, was this kind of a delayed charge that kind of just filtered in then?
Yeah, right. Oh, like a week before I came and saw the board the first time last year, it hit me.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you've been up to since you've been here.
So I was doing the CBT life skills on the tablet, but then they've been having problems with it, so I stopped doing that. I've just honestly been trying to, I kind of messed up a little bit when I first got here, trying to adjust, like not knowing what to expect going into prison, you know, so I kind of, the first couple months here were a little rough, but then I just realized I need to kick back and stay away from everybody, really.
Okay.
So I really am just using this time to do school. Like I'm really passionate about graphic design. I have a clothing company out there and like I haven't like used all the potential I have to build it to where I know it can be because I'm all caught up in other stuff. But doing the graphic design school here and just learning all this stuff and like the career opportunities it has, like I just am so focused on that right now.
How long have you been in that program?
I started it in September, but I'm already like, I only have 2 courses left and I'm done. Like I'm flying through it.
Okay. What do you usually do out in the community?
Well, I am a mom, so having an addiction in the lifestyle I was living, I did try to balance 2 lives, you know. But my kids recently moved, so I really just I was a mom, but then the other half of me was just trying to survive out there. I really just
Where are your kids now?
they moved to Virginia with their dad.
Okay.
Yeah. We do co-parent really well. I have a super good relationship with my kids. They come visit me all the time.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your disciplinary since you've been here.
So I had one, it was the sexual misconduct, like my first 2, like second month here, I think. That was just like trying to, I don't know. It was just a stupid mistake, you know? And then ever since I was so embarrassed. after it, that's when I realized like just stick to myself, you know? And then I had one for cheeking medication, diverting my medication just recently. But it's not trying to justify it. The reason I did it though was sometimes I feel like it doesn't help me and I feel like it messes with my head. And it just kind of makes me feel weird to like if I take it earlier than when I normally do, and their pill line is so inconsistent. So I just was being stupid.
So are you on medication right now?
Yeah, I'm on. However, I haven't been taking it just because after I did my psych eval, he didn't like direct me to, but he's like, I would not recommend taking it if you're not consistent with it. He's like, it'll have more issues to your liver and all this stuff. So I honestly haven't been taking it.
Because his diagnoses are pretty much your stimulant, opioid, and then antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Did you feel like if you were taking that medication consistently, did it feel like it was helping?
Yeah, that's the thing why I stopped is because I couldn't tell.
Okay.
You know, I didn't really see a difference. So I was, and then like, why take medicine if you don't need to? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I kind of was back and forth, but then like he told me, he was like, if you don't do it consistently, it's not going to help. So just don't take it at all, kind of thing. So
You feel like you have some mental health issues like bipolar, depression,
I feel like I
anxiety?
do. It's not
Okay.
super severe, but I feel like it's there. Yeah.
Okay. Have you taken medication in the past where it has felt like it's been effective?
When I was a juvenile, in a group home, I was on a medicine. I just can't remember what it was, but it was effective. And that's why I wish I could remember what it was,
Okay.
but I cannot, I have no idea.
Okay. Is there anything you feel like would prevent you from having a successful parole moving forward, sir, ma'am?
No, I think this time around, something I never have had is that I have a sober support system this time.
Okay.
Like my dad, he did have like, he was in prison before and he went through like his like trials, but he has been clean, for over a year, almost 2 years. He's like a counselor at a treatment center, like in
Okay.
just seeing that like honestly gives me hope, you know, and it's something I've never have had before,
Okay.
while being on supervision. So
Okay.
that's one thing that I think is going to be way different and have a big impact.
If you are paroled, if you still have prison time, you'll be paroled to your detainer, so you can go to do your
Right.
prison time. After all of that is done, after you've taken care of your incarceration stuff, what are your plans when you are out on parole?
Like I mentioned, I'm really passionate about my graphic design, so I definitely want to find a career or focus even more on my clothing line, just doing something, it'll occupy my time and I'll be passionate about it. So I want to do it, you know, I
Right.
want to go divert into doing something else. That's like my main thing. And then, I don't know, eventually maybe if my kids do stay in Virginia, maybe going over there. And I do plan on paroling to Heber,
Okay.
which is somewhere I've never been, so I don't have any acquaintances there. No, like toxic environment, like trigger environment, stuff like that. So that's, yeah, I think those are,
Okay. What's in Heber?
that's where my dad lives.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then as far as programming, you've been assessed to do residential substance abuse programming since you've been in here. So tell me what your plans are for substance abuse programming in the future.
So I did talk to my federal attorney about RDAP, and he says he thinks I'll have enough time to do that. So I plan on doing that in the feds. If not, my dad is super pro treatment. Like I said, he's a counselor at treatment center. So me and him have talked about treatment, whether it's required or not. He wants me to do treatment.
Okay.
So it's in my plans for sure. I feel like the time that I've done, I'll need like some type of transition. So I feel like even if you guys don't recommend it, I plan on going to like at least a sober living just for transition, you know, and if like once I leave my dad's house, you know.
Okay. What do you feel like for you overall has changed the most that's going to help you moving forward so you don't end up back here?
I think this is the most time that I've done. I've done 5 days a month, and now I'm going to be doing like almost 4 years. And it's just a reality check for me. Being sober, I've kind of found myself because I was on drugs for so long back and like on and off, you know, and I was never off long enough to fully find myself again. I was like maybe 2 years, you know, like, but this like, I just look at who I was before and like, it's just ugly, you know, it's an ugly person, a mean person and careless. And like the goals that I have achieved in here, like are something that I want to keep working towards. And I just like who I am sober,
Okay.
you know.
Was there a time when you were in the community, outside of incarceration where you were sober? Like, what's the longest that you've been able to be sober out in the community?
So after I had my son, I was clean for almost 4 years.
Okay.
But then my relationship became abusive, so I left and then started using cocaine, just like socially, and then I relapsed back on meth after about a year of leaving my kid's dad. But yeah, other than that 4 years, it was like about 2 years.
Okay.
So I know I have the ability to be sober. It's just like having the motivation to stay sober. And I think like doing all this time, like it might not sound legit, but it sucks, you know, like my kids are growing up, I'm growing up, I'm getting older, wasting all this time, my whole 20s in prison, you know, and
Mhm.
it's just time to change, you know?
Okay. I was going to ask you another question, but I forgot what it was. That's okay. Is there anything you feel like the board needs to know or you would like the board to know?
No, I mean, if you guys are aware, I have the federal detainer. So honestly, like I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I need to go to the next step. You know what I mean? Like I have some time still to do in the federal system, and just being in the same place around the same people, like, you know, a lot of people in here don't want to change. And though everybody's goal in prison is to get out of prison, a lot of people don't take it serious, and it's a lot of people's lives in here. So I think I just want to go to the next step and like, you know, I don't want to make this my life. I don't want to get comfortable here. I don't, you know, I see people preferring max time, and I never want to be that, you know, I don't want to be, I watched this lady go up the stairs and she struggles because she's so old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to be me, you know?
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, ma'am, what I plan on doing is taking the information we discussed today, compiling that into a report and submitting that to the board. You're well aware the board is the one who has the final decision in your case. They're made up of 5 members. It takes a majority vote for them to make that decision. They'll take into consideration everything you've completed and done leading up to this point. They'll also take into consideration the fact that you do have a detainer moving forward. You have a 28-month guideline, which was September 18th, 2024. The reason that is so close is because you were given 414 days credit for time served.
okay.
You do have a 15-year top, which puts you at January 28th, 2038, which is the length of time the board will have jurisdiction over your case. So more than likely what'll happen, if you've got that federal detainer, do you have probation after that?
Yeah.
With
3
them?
years.
3 years.
probation.
So your time with the state will exceed federal probation. So more than likely, they will probably just parole you to the federal, so you can do your time, and then you'll probably be on dual probation and
Okay.
parole at the same time. That guideline, that September guideline is what it is. They can still continue to go past that if they want to see you complete something prior to paroling you, just so you are aware as well. Do you have any other questions for me?
No.
All right. With that, we will go ahead and conclude this hearing. Thank you. Good luck to you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, and they granted to her detainer, so she's gonna have to serve another like 15 months or so in the federal. And let me share with you, what's in her jacket. And thank you, Holly again for putting all this information in there. So as we can see, it's possession with intent to distribute 1 to 15 years. Forgery 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5. Right now, the 1 to 15 for theft, second degree. Unlawful acquisition of a vehicle, whatever, 0 to 5, 0 to 5. She even has possession of another person's identity. But look at how ridiculous their legislation is. Apparently, if you have possession of 2 or possession of 100 people's licenses, it's the same sentencing guidelines. I guess they leave it up to the judge to decide whether you'll do the 0, the 6 months, or all 5 years. But, if you look at all this time she has, she's like, it's a full lifetime if she were to serve it consecutively. And then you can see here it says effective, they granted as of February 25th, 2025. And the release is contingent upon being sent to the detainer. I don't have anything else to share on this. It was just, I don't have any more information. I thought maybe with the federal detainer, but there'd be something maybe a little, but like that. It's interesting that the feds wanted her as well. Meanwhile, a second ago, someone in the same docket showed up with with a kilo in their car, attempted homicide, not the first time she shot someone. And I mean, who shoots at someone twice in 6 months? The first one, self-defense. The second one, it's just like, and they have the same, you know, actually, she's already served a whole bunch of years on her crime. So, you know, she may even end up serving more. But her EOS is 2038, if you can imagine, the same EOS as the attempted murder woman who we just saw. And Utah doesn't make sense. These laws don't make much sense to me. But I kind of, you know, the antisocial behavior thing is a little bit scary, but I kind of like, you know, she had positive energy. And I guess what more can you ask for if you can make the best out of your situation? I didn't feel like there was any games being played, but who knows? Maybe a really talented antisocial person would be good at making one feel that way. But there you have it. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Sir Richard. And with that, I'll let you go.
And I just met people that, I don't even know. I just met people that wanted something done to him, and I was kind of, I just feel like I was put in a situation where I didn't really know what else to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were driving back from California, and again, I just was not thinking clearly